Hey, Southpointe. This is Pastor Jacki, and I've just got maybe a little something for you to think about today. Some people say that God doesn't speak to them or that they can't hear him. And I will admit that there's been a few times in my life when I felt the same way, when things have just gotten crazy and I don't hear him. And I start to believe the lie of the enemy, the lie of the devil that says, God doesn't speak to you. He doesn't want to communicate with you because he doesn't care about you. That's what I feel when I hear that and when I believe that lie, that God isn't speaking to me because God doesn't care about me. He doesn't care enough to communicate with me. And that is a lie. So I was thinking this week, how can I encourage you to think about how God does speak to us? How does he speak to me? How does he speak to you? How does he speak to the world? And I thought of three things. There's many more ways, I'm sure, that God speaks to us, but these three things. Number one is the Bible. Pastor Michael did a great job talking about that this week in his devotional. It's the main way that God communicates with us. If you had a best friend who moved away and they wrote letters to you, they sent you emails, they left you voicemails, but you never listened to those, you never read the emails, you never opened the letters, could you blame them for the distance in your relationship? Well, no, you wouldn't be able to blame them. And yet we do that with God all the time. You know, we feel distant from God and God hasn't moved. He's still available to us, but sometimes we've just stopped listening for him. And we've started to believe the lies of the devil that say he doesn't care about us. The Bible is the number one way. He's written this love letter to us. And if we don't take the time to open it, to read about how he loves us and what great extent he went to communicate that love to us, then we can't blame him for the distancing that we feel in our relationship with him. Read your Bible. The second one is nature. I mean, look around. God's fingerprints are on everything. The beauty and the splendor and the awe that I feel when I look at the universe. I mean, it's amazing when you look at the stars and think that how that all came to be. I love Brent's illustration about a watch. He says, if you took all the pieces to a watch, put them in the box, shook it together, would you believe me if I said that a watch would just come out of that? Of course not. You'd think I was crazy. But yet there are many who believe that that's what happened in creation. Just like a watch needs a watchmaker. In order to have a watch, you have to have a watchmaker. In order to have creation, you have to have a creator. And God communicates that to us of his existence just by looking around. Look at a newborn baby. I mean, all that needed to take place for that baby to come to be and to live is just an amazing testimony of God's existence and his care for us. And the third thing is sometimes God speaks to us in a still small voice. Brent and I are reading in 1 Samuel this week, and in chapter 3, Samuel is a small child and he's living with a prophet, Eli. And Samuel wakes up at night because he hears someone calling his name. So he runs into Eli and he says, okay, what do you need? And Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. This happens 3 times, and then Eli gets wise and he says, I think God is speaking to you. Samuel, next time you hear that, answer this way. So Samuel went and laid down and slept, and sure enough, God called Samuel. And Samuel woke up and he said, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Now, I've never heard an audible voice from God, but I know that God has spoken to me many times in my heart. He speaks to me in my heart. Many times I've sensed him directing in my life and giving me wisdom and giving me guidance just in my heart. Sometimes when I've been overwhelmed and I pray and I ask God to speak to me, I make a conscious decision, because the word tells me to make a conscious decision to give my cares to him. And then I experience his peace. And in that peace, I hear God speaking to me. I've got you, Jacki. Now, I don't hear an audible voice, but that peace that he puts in my heart communicates to me that he's got me, that he's got it all under control. That's how God speaks to me. It's that still small voice, not an audible voice, although that would be awesome and amazing. But he speaks to me in my heart. But there's a lot of times when I don't hear him speak to me. And sometimes we can't hear God speak to us because of all the noise It's just so much is happening and distracting us that we don't hear his voice because of all the noise. And sometimes we have to just turn off that noise in order to hear him. If I don't turn off the noise, if I don't step away from the distractions, I won't be able to hear him. So my prayer for you this week is, during all of this quarantine, I pray that you would take the time to just be still before God. If that means before the kids get up in the morning or after they go to bed or whenever that time can be for you, that you could just make yourself still before God. The word says in Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. When we take the time to do that and we're really listening for him, that means get alone, get quiet, open your Bible, read it, pray, see what verses pop out to you, and listen. Listen. God is still speaking. Are you listening?